Greetings, beloveds. This is Amy Caryn Johnson, the Earth Channel, with another message from Mother Earth, Gaia, today. I do not have a poem for you today. If you watched last week's video, you know that I shared some heavy things, but Gaia also reminded us that we, in our physical bodies, are temporal. Our physical bodies end at some point, whereas our spirits, our souls, are immortal. And so our task, in one way of looking at it, is to continually identify more and more with our souls and our spirits. And as far as the astrological influences right now, one of the things that is bringing in some of the heaviness that you may still feel a bit of is the conjunction of Rahu and Mars. And I will share that chart. I do have a slight change in how I am looking at the sidereal zodiac in conjunction overlaid with the 64 hexagrams of the I Ching as they are shown in human design. I had been going from where the sidereal zodiac was at the time that Rahu channeled the knowledge of human design into the world. And that was back in 1987. And with the precession of the equinoxes, which is what makes the sidereal zodiac different from the tropical, which you are perhaps more used to seeing, is that it accounts for the precession of the equinoxes. That the equinoxes and the solstices do not stay aligned with the sun does not stay aligned with the same constellation when it hits those points each year. However, in the way that the 64 hexagrams are laid out in human design, it has 8 different gates that are all within what I call the heart center. Human design calls the G center. And those gates are very specifically tied to the solstices, the equinoxes, and the midpoints between those four. 4 plus 4 equaling 8. And so because of that, even though it's a really small change because the precession of the equinoxes happens very slowly, it only changes about a degree every 70 some years. Still, I am going to now go with the theory that those hexagrams stay tied to the solstice and the equinoxes as originally channeled. However, the zodiac I'm going to share with you does show the sidereal zodiac shown overlaid with those, not the tropical as human design typically shows. So what Rahu and Mars are showing us right now is this desire. Rahu is always associated with desire and the need to devour things in some ways. I've talked about this in relationship to my natal chart before. But right now, for all of us, Rahu is in Taurus, according to the sidereal zodiac, and so is Mars. And Mars is really helping amp up this desire to gobble up whatever it is that Taurus is associated with. I would say Taurus is associated with wealth, security, and being a fixed sign, it's also somewhat about control. And so it can be very disconcerting sometimes. That's probably one of humanity's biggest fears, when we find that we are not in control of something that we really want to be in control of. And so what we need to look at to balance that is Ketu. Again, Rahu is the north node of the moon, and Ketu is the south node of the moon. Those nodes represent the points where when the sun or moon approach them, we have an eclipse. We are not nearing an eclipse at this time. We always have eclipses each year, but those won't come until later. But those points have the same significance regardless of that. And so Ketu balances out Rahu by giving us this ability to detach ourselves and just sort of master something, not being so attached like Rahu is, to these desires, to wanting to just gobble up whatever it is, security like it is now, wealth, whatever it feels like we just need to have around us to feel safe. Ketu then is always opposite of Rahu, helping with that balance. And so it is in Scorpio now, according to the sidereal zodiac. And so it's an interesting combination. Ketu generally sort of likes to be in Scorpio, partly, but it's an interesting combination because Scorpio is associated with deep emotion and transformation. The Western astrology definitely associates it with Pluto, and so do I, even with the sidereal and Vedic astrology. Vedic astrology does not normally look at those three outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, but they do have some significance. And so with this transformation, we're learning to master the transformation we need to have balance. And also, forgive my language if this offends you, I apologize, but this is how I'm going to roll. It also is helpful at telling us when, we're thwarted at being, somewhat obsessed with something with Rahu. Ketu helps us say, fuck it. Enough of this. I don't need this. I'm okay without it. I can function. I can be happy. I can feel whatever I want. And that's one of the big energies I've been feeling, especially last week when the conjunction of Rahu and Mars was even tighter than it is now. It's starting to dissipate now. But there was this heaviness and this sense that we were supposed to feel heavy. We were supposed to feel down. And we have been helped by Ketu to balance that and just let it go and say, you know what? I don't have to feel any way that I don't want to feel. I can choose to control my feelings. And in fact, our feelings are one of the few things we can control. Sometimes it doesn't feel that way. But when we slow down, go within, we can get in touch with whatever emotions we want to. And that is one of the keys to manifesting. I've talked about this in previous videos, but it has been a little while. Identifying the way that we want to feel is the most important thing to do when we are deciding what kind of world we want to create for ourselves and for others. And so recognizing that this world, this physical world, is temporal, is temporary, is transitional, and constantly changing, I choose to let it go. And when it is in a certain condition that I cannot control, I focus on my inner world. And that is the world that is associated with my soul, associated with my spirit, associated with my eternal self, and the eternal cosmos, that which does not end, our spirits. And that helps me choose to feel joy, choose to feel lightness whenever I want and need to. And so that's part of the message that Gaia has for us today. But let's go ahead and tune in to her, take a few deep breaths, and hear it straight from her. So I invite you to close your eyes. So one of the things that Gaia has been wanting me to share about is the idea of conspiracies. Conspiracies do exist, but let's look at what they really are. Essentially, conspiracies are the choice of two or more people to come together in order to accomplish something, often in secret, sometimes against the law, or sometimes in ways that can be seen, at least by some others, as unethical. Not always, but Gaia, Mother Earth, invites you to examine conspiracies from the standpoint of being part of this physical world that we all chose to come into, to incarnate into, for the purposes of understanding control, how much control anyone really has over us, and how much control we actually do have, even though sometimes it can seem otherwise. And Gaia definitely wants me to share that if you become obsessed with a conspiracy and you allow it to drag you down into emotions like anger or fear, that conspiracy has won. And so what we are here to learn is that we do not have to get dragged down into anger or fear. We have the ability to rise above. And so regardless of your beliefs, religious or otherwise, take advantage of the springtime weather, if it is where you are in the northern hemisphere. Perhaps some mild fall weather, whatever it is, or even the theme of Easter and the resurrection. Tune into that energy and allow yourself to rise up, no matter what your circumstances. You don't have to feel any way you don't want to feel. Don't allow anyone's pressure to force you to believe otherwise. Right now, the moon is in gate 54, which is located in the root center, also Sagittarius. And that gate in particular, the whole root center actually, but that gate in particular is associated with Kundalini energy. So if that's more palatable to your beliefs, tune into that Kundalini energy in your root center and allow it to rise up. Don't allow anyone to make you believe that you need to keep that energy stuck down there. That energy can circulate, rise, up and down anytime you want it to. And breathing is one of the best ways to take back control over those feelings and over that energy, and allowing it to enliven you, allowing it to awaken within you. And even though it may seem backwards, grounding your energy into Mother Earth is one of the best ways to awaken that energy and allow it to rise. Sometimes we have to go down to go up. And that's another reason we have incarnated here on this earth. To understand what is possible and recognize that it as depressing as it might feel sometimes, it's really a game. It's a game to help us learn how to play with our feelings, play with our emotions, and enjoy the contrast. Sometimes going through a bit of introspection, downtime, even sadness, helps us appreciate the joy and the levity even more. Gaia also wants me to invite you to allow those who may be involved or have been involved with any conspiracy that goes against what you know to be your highest good. Give them some grace, forgiveness, and understanding. Sometimes their involvement in these things and the fact that they are against your highest good, they may be unaware of that. They may truly believe they are doing something for the highest good. So it's time for us all to learn our lessons and progress, move on. Allow everyone their path, their choices for their own highest good. And to recognize where we can come together. Here's where the concept of improvisation is so valuable. When you allow the yes and. Yes, you need this, and I need this. New ways of looking at coming together, cooperation, and meeting the diverse needs of every living being on this planet are possible. They come to light. Thank you so much for joining me. Namaste, beloveds.